In some breaking news coming in, US President Donald Trump has once again set the stage for speculation. Trump has shared a photo of himself and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, which was featured in a magazine titled Newsmakers of the Year 2025, which the magazine captioned as The Mover and the Shaker. Simultaneously, American Ambassador Sergio Gore revealed on social media platform X that President Trump spoke with Prime Minister Modi, sharing a throwback photograph from Trump's 2020 visit to Hyderabad House with a cryptic message which says, and I quote here, "Stay tuned." The timing of it all is telling. The call comes amidst intense India-US trade negotiations, even as Washington continues to dangle tariff threats. New Delhi, however, has remained firm. Prime Minister Modi has consistently maintained that India's national interest will not be compromised under pressure. And in the latest that's coming in, Trump says he has agreed to a trade deal with India. Trump is set to lower tariff to 18% from 25%. That's the latest we understand coming in from US President Donald Trump. The president speaking out after posting a photograph of India Gate is now says that a trade deal has been struck with India, and a deal that will see the lowering of trade tariffs from to a just 18%. This comes soon after we got a confirmation that there was indeed a phone conversation between US President Donald Trump and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Even as speculation surrounds around it, we are getting information from the American president that a trade deal has been agreed upon between India and the United States of America. Bear in mind, before we got the revelation that there was a conversation between Trump and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, moments before that, Trump had posted a photograph of New Delhi's India Gate on his social media platform, Truth Social, calling it a quote-unquote beautiful, triumphal arch. This comes even as Trump is pushing plans for a massive triumphal arch in Washington, D.C. in the U.S. to mark America's 250th anniversary. In the middle of it all, we now understand that Trump and Prime Minister Modi have had a conversation. And Trump has said that we get things done. When he says we, he means him and Prime Minister Modi. And his latest post, if I can read it on air, it was an honor to speak with Prime Minister Modi of India this morning. He is one of my greatest friends and a powerful and respected leader of his country. This is Trump's post on social media. He continues and says, he is one of my greatest friends and a powerful, respected leader of this country. We spoke about many things, including trade and ending the war with Russia and Ukraine. He agreed to stop buying Russian oil and to buy much more from the United States and potentially Venezuela as well. We have our managing editor Karthikeya Sharma now joining us on the phone. And Karthikeya, this is some big breaking news. All eyes on whether this trade deal could be struck. Now we have got a confirmation coming in from the US side. First, the confirmation coming in, there was a conversation between Prime Minister Modi and US President Trump. And now Trump is saying that the deal has been struck and tariffs are going to get lower.
Okay, let me quote him verbatim. See, we need to read between the lines, Krishna. You understand this in business. It really makes hell of a difference, So basically, Trump is saying, out of friendship and respect for Prime Minister Modi, and as per his request, effective immediately, we agreed to a trade deal between the United States and India, whereby the United States will charge a reduced reciprocal tariff, lowering it from 25% to 18%. They will likewise move forward to reduce their tariff and non-tariff barriers against the United States to zero. Prime Minister also committed to buy America at much higher level in addition to over $500 billion of U.S. energy, technology, agriculture, coal, and many other products. Our amazing relationship with India will even be stronger. Prime Minister Modi and I are two people that get things done, something that cannot be said for most. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald Trump. And you know what was the opening line, Krishna? Krishna, the opening line was, it was an honor to speak with Mr. Modi of India. This morning is one of my greatest friends and a powerful and respected leader of his country. We spoke about many things, including trade and ending the war with Russia and Ukraine. He agreed to stop buying Russian oil and to buy much more from United States and potentially Venezuela. And you see, Krishna, that's the word, potentially Venezuela. This will help end the war in Ukraine, which is taking place right now with thousands of people dying. Out of friendship and respect for PM Modi, as per his request, effective immediately, we agreed to a trade deal. Now, okay, this is, this is Donald Trump. He's saying that out of respect for Prime Minister Modi. But the fact of the matter is that Modi is able to hammer out something. We really don't know the details, but it is telling us that something has been hammered out with United States,
Yeah.
Whereby the tariffs have been lowered. There is no clarity. 25 plus 25, Krishna, if you recall.
Yeah.
He's talking about 18%.
Yeah.
So there is no clarity on the other 25% which is there.
And
So if I
Kartikeya, you're somebody who tracks geopolitics very closely. If I may, your timing is everything. You're talking about, this being announced, and you can see that, in a sense, can you read into that Trump and the US felt the jitters after the mother of deals was signed by India with the European Union?
I feel that, there was a great feeling, Krishna, within the American administration that probably they are starting their relationship with India to an extent whereby it will impinge on the American national security. Now, if you recall, I think on 4th of February, there's a meeting which takes place in Washington. It's called a meeting on rare earth and minerals. Now, Pakistan has not been invited to it. If you recall, when Asim Munir and Shehbaz Sharif went to White House, Asim Munir was the one who, or the guy standing next to Asim Munir had one who was showing him rare earth material. And then he said, my dear Field Marshal Asim Munir. So, I personally feel that India has one recovered ground, one by not criticizing Trump personally, by showing patience. Secondly, I think what has happened is Trump has also realized that by pushing India away, it will actually deny them the sort of heft they have against China in Indo-Pacific. For example, I'm not saying that India jumped into the Chinese lap, but then America will not like it. So there were a lot of stories quoted by Western publication about G2 a lot of people were saying that he will cut a deal with China and leave everyone aside. So I think apart from that, there is one more issue which I would say that must have worried the Americans very more. First of all, the Quad has been in complete cold storage. If you see, there has been no work on the Quad one. And secondly, I would say India still continues to be a big market. They still need us, if they don't need us strategically, but they need us in terms of market. And lastly, I would say that there is a personality of Trump, Krishna, the bluff, immediately able to go up the tantrum table and come down it, So there are a lot of things at play. We don't know why he has agreed to do it. But maybe you will be able to better explain, Krishna, in terms of, it's 25 plus 25. I don't know, with coming down of 80 plus.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I don't understand what in this post when Trump says, it's brought down from 25% because he had double tariffs from 25 to 50%. I think what he's meaning also to say that, India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil, which means the 25% penalty, which was meant for India's continued purchase of Russian oil, goes away automatically. And in the rest of the 25%, it's being brought down to 18%. That's what my understanding is, Kartikeya. But, if you read that statement from Trump further, he's talking about the fact that India is willing for zero trade barriers for American goods. And in fact, India is committed to buying American goods worth $500 billion. These are some really big promises that Trump claims India has made to arrive at this deal.
See, Krishna, I don't know whether you agree or not. If we just look from a very different perspective, what it tells us? It tells us that, Americans invaded Venezuela just because they wanted to create a separate source of cheap oil to lure away all the countries closer to the Russia. If you just look at the consequence of the Venezuelan oil in context of Russia, he's mentioning Venezuela in his Truth Social tweet out. And, even before that, there was a audio copy which came in which he said that India will be buying more oil from Venezuela. If you give cheaper alternative to India in context of Venezuela, we will always say, okay, we will not buy oil from Russia, we can buy armament, defense armament, but we'll take oil from Russia. So now we understand the clearer perspective of what has happened. This India story is also reflecting or telling us why the Venezuela invasion took place. Venezuela invasion is larger plan of America to effect change in the Chinese and the Russian sphere of influence. Just, if you disagree, tell me, what does Venezuela want to do? The Chinese go out, the Chinese influence reduces, Krishna.
Yeah.
If we buy cheap oil from Venezuela, we are buying lesser oil from Russia. We are buying lesser oil from Russia. Lesser money goes to Ukraine. Europe also gets to buy oil from Venezuela. There's lesser Chinese in the southern hemisphere. So it's all tying down. We may like it or not, but some of the Trump's policies are having a direct impact. People call it new imperialism or what, but he is effecting some sort of a larger change in the global politics. And maybe it's because of the fact he understands that China is a very big economy and he needs to fight back. But now the pieces have begun to fall. Why Venezuelan invasion took place? One, and secondly, he tweeted his photograph with Prime Minister Modi. So that was, I think, we can take solace in the fact that there is some recovery of personal relationship, because the way he behaved.
That's something I want to ask you about, Kartikeya. At the end of the day, as you rightly pointed out in the beginning, Trump began his social media post to announce the trade deal in India by saying the fact that he's a great friend, he's a respected world leader. The US President Trump and India's Prime Minister Modi have had this relationship from Trump's first term onwards. There has been that bonhomie. And that bonhomie was under question, was under a cloud in the recent past. Everybody's asking what happened to that relationship. Why can't India find a good trade deal with the US? Why is the US slapping tariff after tariff on India? A lot of those questions and doubts that were on this bonhomie, on this relationship, will go away now with the announcement of this deal.
I think, if you ask me personally, I'm not going to get ecstatic about it.
Okay.
I'm going to get ecstatic about it, Krishna. You can't trust Trump, Krishna. You just can't trust him, not because he's just mercurical, because it's so transactional. One, there is something which is very important in our foreign policy, which is that there's some sanctity of relationship. Trump has not been able to keep that sanctity. I think it was a very big or a rude surprise even to our Prime Minister that he quoted private conversations. That's number one. Secondly, we went out of our way to please him. But Trump went out of his way to make fun of the Indian Prime Minister. You see, what he did in Operation Sindhu was like, if I may use a sort of a word from our own cultural lexicon, Lakshman Rekha. I think he really crossed that Lakshman Rekha by mentioning 15 times that he brokered everything during Operation Sindhu. This was one, incorrect, and secondly, even if there would have been an American contribution, contribution or 20% contribution, 10% contribution, do you expect any sovereign country to say that there was a third party mediation? Do you think it's possible, Krishna?
Nope.
It's not possible.
Nope. Yeah. Absolutely.
In that context, Krishna, he crossed a lot of red lines. Lot of red lines. So I think Indian policymakers, Indian diplomats will be very, very careful. Yes, on the lighter note, they would be heaving a sign of relief because let me tell you one thing. Most of the diplomats I mentioned, because last 25, 30 years, all of them have been groomed in that post-1989 environment where they feel that India's destiny is linked with the United States of America. Intellectually, we understand that we cannot be intellectually or sort of socially or culturally value-wise tied with the Russian Republic. They are very dependable, but our values are much closer with America. But our problem is that the Chinese state is breathing down our neck. You see, in 1987, when Samudra problem took place in Ladakh, we were at parity, the Chinese forces and the Indian military forces. Right now, there is no parity, Krishna. I mean, if you ask me, there is no parity. There is just no parity. So we are looking at a very, very complex atmosphere whereby we have to not only balance China, but Krishna, we have to balance our relationship with both Russia, America, and China, Israel, France, and UK, the principal partners. So we are living in a very complex environment.
Complex world we're living in, complex choices that India is faced with. We're being joined by Ambassador Jayant Dasgupta, former ambassador to WTO, with us on the broadcast. Ambassador Jayant Dasgupta, thank you for joining us. Big news coming in. We also have Mitali Nikore with us on the broadcast on this big breaking story. Ambassador Jayant Dasgupta, how would you read? What are your initial thoughts when you hear Trump say the fact that, the tariffs are going to be down to 18% and then we do have a deal? And he also says India has agreed to buy $500 billion worth of US goods.
I would keep my fingers crossed,
Okay.
and I would wait for confirmation from the Indian government, because there is a certain degree of hyperbole associated with President Trump's statements. As far as buying $500 billion worth of goods from the US is concerned,